We're back. That's right. It's Pierre. It's Hustle is the Hack. That's the podcast. And, we're back. It's been a little bit, but we're starting things back up again. I'll give you a little insight into what's going on. That's right. We're here to help you acquire, identify, and retain the most valuable asset you can have in business today, and that is a customer. It starts with the customer, and sadly, your business comes to an end when you have none of them left. That's right. So whoever dies with the most customers is the winner. That's right. I'm here to help you get your sales game on, to help you close more selling opportunities with your customers. And so it's all sorts of fun. And how do I do this? Well, I take my 30 plus years of selling technology and at some of the highest levels in the whole world. I work with some of the coolest companies, and we get to help them and some of the best salespeople on the planet. Let me tell you, and I'll learn some stuff. So I'm going to talk to you about some of those things, and we're going to help you get your sales game on. So stick around. For the podcast. That's right. It is Hustle is the Hack, and I am back, baby. We're back. That's right. We're back. We've been out of the game for a little bit.
We're back, baby.
That's right. I'm back. So I've been out a little bit, and it's been fun. I can tell you a little bit about that. I got actually a new gig at work over the last few months, and so I was all set to start up again in July. And I came to the end of our fiscal year, and I got reorged into another team. And so, well, here you go. It just been a little bit of delay, but absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's right. That's what happens. And so we're here to help you just continue the game, man. And I spent a little time over the summer doing a little bit of reading and hanging out and getting my head in the game a little better. And I'm excited about this next go round with the old podcast Ola. I had my new boss, and she said when I met her, she's like, "Oh, I listened to your podcast," and I'm like, "What? You've listened to my podcast?" I kind of felt a little embarrassed, actually. So that wasn't good. I'm like, is she judging me? I hope I'm doing a good job. I don't know. It seems really, I don't know why I was so kind of like freaked out about that. So Catherine, if you're listening right now, I hope I'm doing a better job than the one you heard. Anyways, no, she liked it, actually. She liked it very much. And I kind of do this at work. This is kind of the stuff that I do at work. Actually, I do a lot of sales coaching and onboarding for salespeople. Because why? Because Pierre's been in the tech sales business for a long time. I sold my first computer back in 1989. And so I've been in technology sales ever since then. And I started selling it at a computer retailer locally here in town. And today I run the sales readiness, which is kind of onboarding and training for a whole group of people around the world, a whole sales organization at Microsoft. So I'm a global director of selling for one of the groups at our company. And you can look it up on LinkedIn and see all the stuff that I do over there. That's not what's important today. What's important today is you and I in this little conversation that we are about to get involved in. So I'm glad that you're listening to this podcast. It's been a little bit of time since things have lapsed, and I've kind of broken one of the cardinal rules of podcasting, which is, you have to be consistent. That's what everybody says. And you know what? Consistency is helpful and important, but you also want to keep your job, your paying job and stuff like that. So, and this podcast really isn't set up necessarily to be monetized. I don't really make a ton of cash. I'm not selling anything that's, I'm not selling you a course or a book or anything like that, or come and be, I'm not going to charge you for sales coaching. What I have found and what's very rewarding for me is the friends that I have made over my career And especially new people that are coming into the selling game, this is for you. This podcast is for you specifically. I'm trying to impart and help you as a brand new salesperson, or if you own a business and you're trying to grow it. These are kind of the insider components that you'll want to start to consider bringing into your sales game and whatnot. So anyways, let's get right into it. What are we talking about?
What are we talking about, Pierre?
We're going to start a whole series, and over this next year, we are going to spend time going kind of deep diving into individual ideas, as opposed to just, giving you tons all the time. One podcast, one great idea. So we're going to start off this podcast with number one sales tip on the list. I've got 56, one for every week of the year that we're going to go over. And number one is, here you go. It's not what you say, it's what your customers believe. And boy, man, the first thing, this kind of a deep conversation here. There's two ideas in this. One of it, it's not what you say. And man, salespeople love to hear themselves talk, don't they? They love to talk and chatter and pitch and talk and learn all about dialogue and controlling the conversation and influence and all of the things that go along with this. The big book that we all read at the very beginning, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, because it's all about how we impact them, right? That's kind of what we want to think. That's the most important thing that's happening in the sales dialogue. And it really is not about that in any way, shape, or form. And you know why this is, and I want to just assault this directly. It isn't what you say, it's what your customer believes. So there's two things that are happening. One is sometimes you're talking way too much, you're saying way too much and not listening enough to those customers' needs and what they are believing today. And the only way that you can get kind of a prospect from a prospect to a customer is often to change their beliefs or influence the change of a belief, as opposed to directly pressuring them to buy something. And so there's a lot of, I call them manipulative sales models, and a lot of us learn this. I've certainly learned it in my early years. It used to be a really big thing of all the different closing techniques and how we can manipulate individuals into either tricking them or putting a lot of pressure on them. And it has nothing to do then with the customer's, let's say, belief. Their only belief is they want to just get rid of you because they don't like you. And so you kind of set up an adversarial relationship with a customer when you're going down that manipulative selling model. And you're trying to control people. And today, that's just so far from the way any successful salesperson that I have met that's doing really well works anymore. Unless you're selling car stereos out of the back of your truck or something like that, or trying to sell, vacuum cleaners door to door. This is kind of what has given salespeople such a bad name. But so I'm going to keep going back on this. Not what you say, it's what your customer believes. And so there's two things, like I mentioned. One is the saying of stuff. I'm the salesperson. I'm saying some stuff. And so I need to think about my words. I need to choose them carefully, actually. And I don't want to be in love with my own voice to hear it. A couple things about that kind of dynamic. One is some people say, hey, God gave you one mouth and two ears. You should use them in that proportion, meaning you should listen twice as much as you talk. And that is, I think, very, very true, isn't it? If we listen twice as much as we talk, that's a good guide. If we're talking way too much and the customer isn't saying anything or the prospect isn't saying anything, they're disengaged. You're not preaching. You're berating people then. And so that's not how it works. You want to be able to address the needs that somebody has. Needs, and this, I'm going to come back to needs here in a minute. Needs is really important. We want to find out what their need is and address the needs, because what happens is needs that people have leads them to believe something, and it's the something that they believe that leads them into action. And so when we're trying to influence that belief window, I'm going to use this terminology here that came up by, was kind of coined by the founder of Franklin Planner, one of the first guys to write the Franklin Planner and the Franklin Covey methodology for planning, and kind of a lot of salespeople got into this back in the 80s. His name was Hyrum Smith, and he was one of the guys that came up with this concept of a belief window. And so we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about what a belief window is. And it's addressing that concept of we have kind of core needs, human needs at different levels, and those, inform a certain set of beliefs that we have. And then we build rules and have behaviors and actions as a result of that. So if we want to influence that belief that somebody has, we have to really choose our words carefully. And so let me give you a couple phrases that a salesperson says that's dismissive of customers' beliefs or customers' needs that they have, actually, because that's where we want to get. We want to listen to their needs and find out what they need, as opposed to saying, hey, it's no big deal. Well, for some customers, it is a big deal. If we're saying the price, hey, that's the way I'm going to overcome an objective. And they're saying, I don't know if I can really afford this. And they're saying, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. It might not be a big deal to you, but rest assured, if a customer thought that something that they were going to bring to their attention and say that this is a problem or concern, then it's a big deal to them. So instead of saying it's not a big deal, we should be saying something like, well, what do you mean by that? And tell me more. A lot of times and this is something as you grow in selling, when you start selling things that cost more than your house or cost more than your car, some people have a hard time, even in business, spending something like $1 million or $100,000, because they look at that number and they think about it like it's a car, or that's as much as a college degree. And when we say, well, that's not that big of a deal, that's not that much money, we're not really addressing that understanding. And what we want to do is lean into that a little more. Tell me more. What does that mean to you? And why is that such a big deal? The other one is to just be dismissive of people and say, well, don't worry about it. We'll take care of that later on, or we'll address that during the deployment. And so what we say when we say don't worry about it, it's like we don't really know how to handle customers' anxiety or their kind of personal or business issue, really. And it's just a throwaway line. Worry is really healthy for some people. It helps them because they're risk averse or because they've been down this road before. You're not really addressing those concerns that they have that are going to inform their behavior. And this is how you talk yourself out of a sale. You just dismiss a customer's worry. A prospect is worried. Well, that's a real feeling that they have. People buy for very personal reasons, or they're going to recommend for personal reasons. And so if they have a concern or a worry, it is something that you need to legitimately address. And I'm telling you, if you are, especially in the technology sales or managing a complex sale where there's many people involved in the decision-making process, this is one that is a giant red flag. If somebody says, hey, I'm worried about, the deployment, or I'm worried about the security impacts of this system, I don't really feel like we're going to use this in the long run, or we're going to get those productivity gains that you talked about. Those are actual, real, live concerns. And to be dismissive and say, don't worry about it, that's not good at all. We're talking ourselves out of a sale, because as soon as you walk out the door, they're going to still have that worry. You haven't addressed their belief or the need that they have. They're gatekeepers often in that complex sale. At least in my world, those are gatekeepers in the complex sale. And so if I'm not addressing then they need to, that's their job. Their job is to be responsible for the security of the company or something like that, or for the confidential nature of the customer's, data, or whatever that need that's being expressed. If I don't address it, or find a way to pull out what the issue is or get the real issue, then I'm just kind of in trouble ultimately. The other one that, we say all the time, when you compare one customer to another or something like that, a husband or a best friend, by saying something like he's similar, or there's other forms of that, kind of dismissing somebody's concern. And it sounds, that sounds just like, customer B, and they had a problem like that, and we just took care of that. So don't worry about it at all. They said the same thing, and look, they're still a customer of ours. That doesn't address their concerns still. That doesn't address their things, and it's really dismissive of their actual problems. So what you should be saying, I think I can help with this. I think I can help with this. Just, if you're going to say, I think I can help, and you want to compare, well, you can say, I think we can help with this. I had another customer that had a similar concern, and this is how they addressed it, blah, blah, blah. And then, but instead of just saying, hey, we took care of that with another customer, so don't worry about it. That's not a big deal, kind of a thing. So if they're brave enough to give you, because people don't like saying no. They don't like saying no. They want to say yes. They want to get you out and get going. And so if we're going to address that by, saying, I think I can help with this, and give them a direct address of the concern that they have or the objection, just directly deal with, this is one that just, this one killed me all the time when I was working in retail. One of my sales directors, he would always say something like this. He would say, it's like you don't understand what I'm talking about. And what they would say is, like, the reason a customer says no, a customer should never say no, because what that means is when you hear no, it just means you just haven't explained it good enough to them. Like, you're basically saying the customer is stupid. They don't seem to understand you. The problem may be that you're the one that's not being clear. If they're like, don't get it, and you're saying, well, just dismissing that, it could be that actually you're the idiot in the room, not doing a good job of explaining this well. And so you can imply that the customers are thinking through this. And so instead of saying, well, you're kind of overthinking this, or, trying to just bully them, you say, no, what can I clarify? Ask them specifically what they don't understand, or ask them specifically, but no doesn't mean you didn't explain it good enough. That means you asked for the sale before they fully understood maybe what they needed. So I don't think you're listening to me is something that a customer would say. Like, you customers are distracted during conversations by multiple things. They get distracted. One of those things could be the way you're presenting the information, perhaps in a scripted or dull pace or a condescending tone or something like that. Instead, say, please tell me what's not clear. This is called a dialogue, people, and you're in the middle of that dialogue with folks. And so these are the things that, we say to customers all the time, and it puts them off. And the general theme is one of empathy. The general theme of winning here is like listening, actually expressing concern, or like actually listening to somebody and then repeating what their concern was, and then, trying to address the issue so that you have clarity in what you're trying to say to them. And so it's not what you say, so to speak, it's what a customer believes, is what I was saying. So we're addressing those beliefs. And so let's think about this in a linear fashion. We as individuals have human needs. Or a business has business needs. Those are like, I want to be loved. I want to feel like important. I want to have a variety of things in my life. I love to travel. I like people to appreciate me. I want to live. We have these needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Businesses have the same kind of concepts. We have established things that we have to do, and we need them every day to survive. And businesses aren't any different than that. And so that set of human needs that we have builds what we'd like to refer to as a belief window. Those are the principles by which I operate. So because I want to be loved and appreciated, that means I know the principles of giving. And so I'm going to give myself to people that I love. And so, you have to be a friend to be befriended by other people. And so I'm going to be friendly. So you have this set of beliefs and principles that guide your life. And those beliefs actually establish behaviors and rules that you live by. And if somebody feels, that their human need is to be loved and their principles and beliefs are formed by that, then those actions and behaviors are going to give them certain results. And the results they get kind of feed back into that set of human needs. And so this is good and can also lead to really bad behaviors. The concept of belief windows and then that lead to bad behaviors and give us bad results in life, like addictions, give us that feedback of not feeling good about ourselves. And so maybe at the core, my principle is I feel really bad about myself. I have a low self-esteem. And so because of that, I engage in behaviors and take actions that are bad for me. Maybe I do drugs or something like that, or I choose bad relationships or people that don't appreciate me, that push me down. And so the results of those actions feed into I pick people that feed that belief that I am not loved and I have a low self-esteem. And so the results of those behaviors push my self-esteem even lower. And so that kind of becomes a vicious circle of poor decision making that feeds poor self-esteem that makes me make even worse decisions. So do you get it? Do you get what I'm saying? That belief that we have has behaviors and results. So if I think, hey, I'm an important person, I value my life and my self-esteem, and so I'm going to pick and hang around people that help boost me up and lift me up and are positive influences in my life. And so as a result of those behaviors and actions, that feeds that belief, then that right back into that belief and guides principles, because now I'm hanging out with people that are positive, that lift me up, that are friendly to me, that, help my self-esteem. And so then I am making the right choices and, it just improves that and I get a positive feedback loop. So this makes a positive feedback loop in a very simple way. And this is the same thing that happens with customers. Customers have this belief window that they might think you're shady or they might think that you're awesome. Depends on the research and stuff like that they've done up to that point. Remember, most of your customers have already, like if they're walking into your store or you're engaging with them for the first time, they've actually already engaged with you before you even know about it, because they've gone out and done their research on the internet. They read the reviews of your product and they've done some research on what you're talking about. And so this is what feeds their behaviors. And so that's why when we're talking to folks, like I was saying earlier, these things that you shouldn't say, because those walk away from the belief window. They shrink that belief window for people, or they ignore those beliefs and needs of people. We just want to have people to take the actions and see the results in my favor towards us. Hey, I want you to sign the contract, but I've not addressed their needs. I don't even understand their needs or the beliefs that they have. And so I always say it's like, stepping up to the plate and looking for the home run. You just want the home run. And so it's like, no, you want the game. You need to play the journey out. You need to let people cathartically go through their process of expressing their needs and understanding their beliefs then. And then if I can't influence that and I'm in a negative position, I might need to walk away. In the big picture of selling, we call that qualification. You call that qualifying a customer. You ask about their needs, the situation, the problem, the implications, and the needs of that they have. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can talk about around selling that has to do with understanding people's needs. And we call that obviously discovery, and the discovery of customers' needs. And there's a great book on selling that I recommend every salesperson read. It's called Spin Selling. And Spin Selling is by Neil Rackman. It is, it's one of those books that everybody in sales should read it, because it gives you a basic understanding of a sales strategy and it's really more about the dialogue that we have in selling. I've talked about different methodologies before. We have all these different solution selling methodologies and different sales methodologies, Sandler's method. There's all these different sales methodologies. So as a salesperson, you really have two things. You have the dialogue that we engage in, and we have methodology that we follow. I like to think of spin selling as the dialogue part. It's a set of questions. It's a framework for discovery on any level. So I just love it. This is really one of my favorite components. It's really understanding the customers. It's very simple: situation, problem, implication, and need. And so if I want to understand what that need is of the customer, that's going to inform that belief window and ultimately the actions, then so I can come up with a strategy of how to influence maybe their beliefs, I have to understand how they're getting to that belief. And what leads to belief? What did I just say in that belief window? It is your needs. And so you need to understand the needs of a customer. Before you can ever close a sale and get a commitment, needs are really important. And so understanding that situation, that problem, the implications, and the need payoff that they have is what that book delves into. And it really helps prevent objections in many ways, because what you're doing, it's like a guilty defendant going into court that was videotaped, shooting the victim. And the lawyer's walking in the room, and he's saying, yes, he was witnessed standing over the body of the victim with a gun in his hand. We're not going to dispute that. We want to tell you the reason why that happened and what led up to that, and he's going to tell you a story of that. And so what happens is he is putting on the table any potential objection. I'm not going to address the obvious, that I've got other ways to deal with this. So it's kind of the same concept here. What we're doing is we're actually trying to not overcome objections. We're trying to prevent objections by understanding the need objectives that the customer has. And during our opening calls and our preliminary, are turning the theory of this into the actual practice. It's adopting these different principles of understanding people's situation, and then the specific problems that they're trying to address, the implications of those problems, and then, ultimately what that need payoff is for them. And that's how we are able to influence folks without, controlling them, because that idea back in the day was, we could really, we could do a great job at getting people to do what we need to do. We could really pressure them by, narrowing their choices down by all these different manipulative behaviors. I love these. I kind of make a joke of them now. It's pretty funny. We used to go through all the different closing models. Maybe I should do that one show, go through all the different closing techniques, that you have, like the alternate close being, hey, do you want us to deliver that, appliance on Tuesday or Wednesday? So you're really not giving the customer an opportunity to say, hey, I don't really want it. You're just moving right to the implementation. So you're not even giving them a chance to say no. That's called the alternate close. There's just all these different kind of manipulative ways that, that used car salespeople typically are the ones that, or when you're selling that kind of business to consumer stuff, door-to-door selling, the yes close. There's just all these different closes that are used in order to get people to manipulate them. And we're in a world that it's very hard to manipulate people like that anymore because of choices, and people are way better educated about your products and how the, kind of universe of choices that they have, sits for them. So anyways, I just hope you enjoyed this time that we had together. We are coming to the end of our time together. Let's get oh, there we go. Yes, that's right. It's the end of the podcast, and we are at Hustle is the Hack. You can check the website out, hustleisthehack.com. My name is Pierre Holsabus, and this was sales tip number 1 for fiscal year 2023. I hope you had a great time. I hope you had a great day. Check us out on the webs, on the interwebs, and I'll talk to you real soon.